One of the reasons I have a passion for the kind of content I create on here, on this channel, is the real life experiences I've had. I know a lot of times older people don't talk about the past and we kind of lose our perspective on some of these things. But today I want to share with you an experience I had, not something I read in a history book, not something I've heard secondhand or hearsay, but a real life racist experience that I endured when I was younger. When I was back in high school, I was 15 years old. I used to play this game, and probably a lot of you haven't even heard of it, called Dungeons and Dragons. And we would gather at this cafeteria at this college that was fairly near the school and near my house. And I think at this occasion, about 20 students there. We were all about the same age. There might have been a few upperclassmen, a couple of seniors or juniors there, but mostly freshmen and sophomores. And so it was something we did fairly regularly. And I was sitting there, like rolling the dice and taking my turn. And I noticed like motion, like at a distance, somebody walking really fast. And normally it was like totally quiet in there and there was nothing going on. So I wondered what this was. And so I was a little startled by it. So what it was one of the security guards at the university. And so he stormed up to the group and like parted everybody out of the way and got right up in my face. So I didn't mention it, but I was the only non-white person in the building at the time. So he storms up to me and demands to see my ID, which was really odd because, we're all just really young kids, 14, 15, 16 years old. Obviously, we're involved in some little fun activity, so we had threat to anybody, no. But in his mind, because I wasn't a white boy in the crowd, I must be a criminal. So he storms up to me and like gets in my face, demands the ID. And in that little moments where I was deciding what to do, all kinds of things went through my head. Like, I could have just told him to get out of my face and, gotten belligerent with him. But I started thinking back through time about slavery. Started thinking about Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King. And even my own grandfather who faced these kind of conflicts at times. And I decided that really I was standing on their shoulders at this moment. I didn't need to make any kind of protest because I had every right to be here. This wasn't a KKK guy about to lynch me or anything. This was like some little idiot security guard, racist guy. And so I looked at him and, a few seconds went by. And I told him, what kind of ID are you looking for? Because, I didn't have a driver's license. I had nothing. So I don't even remember what he said, but I told him, I got my high school ID. And so he like stuck his hand out, and I got my wallet out, I gave it to him. So he looks at it kind of funny. And then, he stands there for a while, gives it back to me. And, I'm kind of a smart ass anyway underneath it all, but I got a way of not being confrontational with it. So I asked him a question. I said, so what did you learn from that? And I said, just like that, because this was back in the 80s. So he couldn't Google me. He didn't have access to any kind of like internet support to like look at my name and run it through a database. It was just a racist, stupid thing out of the blue that served no useful purpose. I wasn't a criminal. I wasn't there to cause any trouble. I had every right to be there like everybody else. But he confronted me. And so when I asked him that, he looked kind of embarrassed and he walked away. But one of the things that I'll never forget is how apologetic my friends were. And they were really shocked. They were much more shocked than me. And I think that's because they really believed at that point in history, a lot of this stuff was in the past. But you got to remember, this guy was probably in his 60s, I would think, or so. So he was born maybe in the late 40s, early 50s. And we try to act like times change quickly, but they don't. They're not going to change because this guy wasn't raised in a world where you treat black people fairly. He wasn't raised in a world where you have racial equality. He used to see black people in the back of the bus probably. He saw segregation. He saw black people mistreated with no comeback or consequences whatsoever. But this is one of the reasons I'm kind of a patriotic guy, is because as bad as things were in the past, we've made progress, and that inspires me. And people take this thing for granted because there's a lot of cultures where the kind of progress we made socially never happened. And so I'm proud to be a descendant of slaves who's made it this far. I'm working for a living and I'm putting that money in my pocket. Nobody's stealing it from me. I'm not being forced to work for sweet potatoes and chitlins and a shabby roof over my head. God's blessed us all to get out of that. And I'm so happy to say that those days are over and that we have a chance to reach for excellence and not look back in a way where we feel discouraged, but we can look back in a way that we feel encouraged. I'll say it again, we're standing on the shoulders of champions who fought for what we have today. And let's not forget about it. Let's not take it for granted. Let's celebrate it, let's embrace it, and let's keep moving forward and not stop.